Hey again, you beautiful, beautiful human, you. Welcome. Today we are in Alexandria, Egypt, and in particular we are in its lost world, Alexandria as it once was. This is a city steeped in history, founded by one of the ancient world's greatest conquerors, Alexander the Great, in 331 BC. Imagine that. He walked around saying, "This place could use a city with my name on it," and boof! So it was done. And he did that a lot, walking around with his army, ending other armies and going, "Boof, there shall be a city here." You may well call him the world's greatest conqueror, but he was absolutely shit at naming new cities. It is estimated that over 70 new cities were named by himself, after himself. There was Alexandria Arachosia, then there was Alexandria Eschati, which sounds a bit shit. Then there was Alexandria in the Caucasus, and Alexandria Ariana, and Alexandria in Margiana, and well, you get the idea. He had a habit of founding and then naming cities after himself, which is fair enough, I suppose. I mean, who's going to oppose you when you're a kick-ass conqueror with 10,000 soldiers behind you? I also plan to one day conquer the world and name it all after myself. You'll see, you'll all see. And then, of course, there is this Alexandria. The Alexandria. It quickly became a major centre of culture, learning and commerce. Over the centuries, Alexandria has seen periods of greatness and decline, influenced by a dozen great empires and peoples. Alexander the Great didn't just stop at conquering, he had to put his mark on the world, literally. So, in 331 BC, he founded Alexandria. Strategically located was ancient Macedonian speak, for I can keep an eye on my empire, and the beach is nice. The city's layout, attributed to Dinocrates, featured a grid system that screamed, "We're organised, and we mean business." Fast forward to Alexander's untimely death in 323 BC. Ptolemy the Soter snagged Egypt and said, "I'll take the whole Nile package. Thank you very much." He established the Ptolemaic dynasty, and Alexandria morphed into a Hellenistic hotspot as the city became the capital of the new Ptolemaic Egypt, replacing Memphis, a status it kept for the next 1,000 years throughout the coming Roman and Byzantine rule. The Library of Alexandria became the ancient world's biggest book club, but without Dolly Parton. It aimed to collect all the world's knowledge. Because ancient scholars couldn't Google things, they had to do actual thinking all on their own. It was tough back then, and books were rare, but Alexandria had them all. Because in ancient times, unlike certain book-burning idiots of today, education was taken seriously, and reading was something to be admired, not mocked. I hate today, but that's irrelevant. Then there was the Pharos Lighthouse, which was like a medieval GPS, minus the soothing voice. It was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Back then, they took their lighthouses very seriously. It's also important to remember that unlike today, when lighthouses are built to warn sailors away from dangerous waters, in ancient times lighthouses were built kind of like welcome signs that said, "Here we are." Sailors back in those days would look for a shining light and know that was the direction to safe harbour. The Pharos Lighthouse at Alexandria was one of the greatest, with one of the safest harbours. Within just 1 century, Alexandria quickly grew from nothing to become the world's largest city of the time. Enter Rome, stage left. After Mark Antony and Cleopatra VII had their ill-fated fling and tragic ending, because real life isn't like a Hollywood blockbuster, Emperor Octavian turned Egypt into Rome's breadbasket. Alexandria was like the Costco of grain, massive, essential and always busy. However, fat Karens screaming at staff to go back to where they came from did not exist yet, so it was also a little safer. Or maybe they did exist. They just called them something else? Who knows? Christianity took off in Alexandria. The catechetical school of Alexandria became a theological think tank. Try saying that fast 3 times. This school started churning out early Christian scholars and rewriting new versions of their favourite Jesus book faster than you can say New Testament. The city wasn't just a grain supplier, it became a spiritual buffet. Intellectual thought dissipated from this ancient city, and the rest of the world struggled to keep up. But all wasn't loaves and fishes. As the Roman Empire went from party central to what happened to my empire, Alexandria faced its share of economic hiccups and political chaos. In 115 AD, large parts of the city were destroyed during the Diaspora Revolt. Then 100 years after that, Emperor Caracalla visited the city and abruptly ordered his soldiers to kill every man capable of bearing arms. Why? Because he'd seen some political satirical comedies which insulted him a wee bit. Imagine that. Some folk make a wee comedy at your expense, so you react by killing everyone who can carry a sword. Why are these leaders always such weak-ass, pissy little bitches? Always so easily insulted? Always so extreme in their response? There's a few of them still around today as well, so it's good to see that humanity never changes and many of us still suck balls. In the year 365 AD, on the 21st of July, an underwater earthquake off the island of Crete devastated the entire Mediterranean coastline, causing a tsunami much like the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004. Entire cities all around the Mediterranean Sea were destroyed and tens of thousands of people drowned. Alexandria did not escape this disaster. In 642 AD, Alexandria saw the Arab forces rolling in like they owned the place, which they soon did very quickly. Under Muslim rule, Alexandria's role shifted a bit. It was still a port of note, but the intellectual and cultural rock star status took a back seat. The medieval period was a roller coaster of prosperity and occasional "let's invade Alexandria" moments, courtesy of crusaders and Mamluks. However, along came those pesky Portuguese, who in their own explorations of the medieval world, one day found a new sea route to India, and in one big bash completely knocked Alexandria's importance off the world international trade map, as the amount of goods being transported through the city rapidly diminished. So then did the power and wealth of those in control. In 1517, at the Battle of Ridania, the Ottomans showed up to conquer the city, taking Alexandria along for their own empire ride. However, Alexandria's importance as a trade hub was now gone, and would not return for quite a while, until the constructions of some major canals in the early 19th century. Alexandria also played an important role in Napoleon's attempted conquest of, well, literally everything, and was captured by the French armies under his rule in 1798. Goodbye Ottomans, bonjour France, for 3 whole years. In 1801, the British arrived. They captured and occupied Alexandria faster than a tourist rush to claim the benches at the beach. In typical British style, massive reconstruction projects began, and with the completion of some great canals in the 1820s, Alexandria once again regained its role as a major trading hub. The city became a crucial naval base, administrative centre, and a melting pot of cultures and languages. By the 20th century, Alexandria was evolving into a major port and industrial centre, weaving its way through Egypt's economic tapestry and solidifying this city as a major world city of the modern age. Modern Alexandria faces the typical urban challenges: political upheaval, traffic that makes you question your life choices, and environmental issues. One of my favourite examples of urban city planning is when the Alexandrians combined their contempt with the environment, with their contempt for traffic, and built this great bridge across the bay. Kinda ruined that beach a bit, don't you think? I bet the ghost of Cleopatra is spinning in her grave. Still though, if needs must, kinda looks like something I would build in cities' skylines, to be honest, and I also suck at urban planning, so absolutely nobody should take that as a compliment. But despite the chaos, Alexandria's charm and dynamic spirit keep it thriving. Enter the Bibliotheca Alexandrina in 2002, a nod to the city's legendary library. It's like a reboot of a classic novel, but less flammable. So far. Alexandria's got architectural gems that scream, "We've been around." From the Kite Bay Citadel, sitting on the old Pharaoh's lighthouse site, to the catacombs of Kom el-Shokafa, a blend of Egyptian, Greek and Roman influences, it's like walking through a museum without the "do not touch" signs. This is what I love about historical cities like these. It's all a giant open-air museum, but also do not touch. You have stinky, grimy, smelly fingers and you'll ruin it. Now don't mind me for just 20 short wee seconds, because it is at this point that I am obliged to tell you about today's sponsor, the greatest company on earth you've never heard of. Hire. They do the grand job of specializing in making your own custom-designed and custom-branded goods. They make everything you could ever think of customizing, the usual stuff, of course, like t-shirts and hoodies and cups, but even much cooler customized design stuff like rolling papers, bottles and ashtrays. They do it all. They do it all well. They do it all very well. And that's all there is to say about that. So don't forget to contact Hire if you were thinking about making a load of custom-designed goods for your store, business, or whatever it is you do. Do it with Hire. And now we sponsor ad over and back to the thing we were talking about. What were we talking about? Yes, Alexandria. Alexandria remains a beautiful blend of history and modernity, with a thriving cultural scene that includes museums, theatres, galleries, festivals and tourists who just can't help but touch absolutely bloody everything. Efforts to preserve historical sites add to the city's allure, blending the past with the present in a way that's both nostalgic and forward-thinking. But that's just the city of Alexandria, and if you remember rightly, this video is also about the lost world of the area around this ancient city, which has changed quite dramatically since the conqueror last took a look. Such as this, Lake Mareotis. Lake Mareotis, also known as Lake Mareotis, is a historically significant body of water located in the Nile Delta region, south of Alexandria, Egypt. This lake has played a vital role in the development of the region, influencing agriculture, trade and urban settlement patterns throughout its long history, even though the long history of this lake is almost over. But why is that? Humans, that's why. It always is. Lake Mareotis has been a significant geographical feature since ancient times, but it was once much bigger than what's left of it today. Back in the day, it was connected to the canopic branch of the Nile, making it a crucial player in the agricultural and economic life of the region. This lake was the Elon Musk's intestine of ancient waterways. Absolutely everything had to pass through it. During the Pharaonic period, the lake was part of the extensive network of waterways that facilitated transportation and trade within Egypt. The lake's proximity to the Mediterranean Sea made it an essential hub for maritime commerce. Goods such as grain, papyrus and linen were transported via Lake Mareotis to the Mediterranean ports. The founding of Alexandria by Alexander the Great marked a new chapter in the history of Lake Mareotis. The lake's strategic importance grew significantly as Alexandria became a major centre of commerce and culture. You know, you're important when Alexander the Great himself decides your lake is worth his time. The Ptolemaic dynasty, which ruled Egypt after Alexander's death, capitalized on the lake's potential by developing infrastructure that enhanced its role as a trade hub. At this time and for thousands of years, the lake had a size of more than 700 square kilometers. This was barely even a lake, almost more like an inland sea. Under the Ptolemies, Lake Mareotis was integrated into Alexandria's canal system, connecting it to the city's harbours. This was ancient urban planning at its finest, no potholes, just smooth sailing. The lake's shores were dotted with warehouses, docks and bustling marketplaces, making it a focal point of economic activity. When Egypt came under Roman rule in 30 BC, the lake continued to play a vital role in the region's trade and agriculture. The Romans, ever the efficiency experts, further developed the infrastructure around the lake, enhancing its capacity to support large-scale commerce. Agricultural produce from the Nile Delta, stored in granaries along the lake's shores, was crucial for feeding the growing population of Alexandria and for export to other parts of the Roman Empire. You could say the lake was the breadbasket that kept the Roman Empire carb-loaded and ready for anything. However, as the population of people feeding off this great lake continued to grow, so did the demand on its resources, and by the 12th century Lake Mareotis had been reduced to a collection of small salt lakes with no access to the Nile, and by the late Middle Ages the Great Lake was almost completely gone. In the modern era, Lake Mareotis has faced significant challenges, including environmental degradation, pollution and urban encroachment. The expansion of Alexandria and the development of infrastructure projects have had a profound impact on the lake's ecosystem. It's like every time a new highway gets built, a lake fairy loses its wings. And here, at this once great lake, many fairies have lost their wings in the interest of gaining farmland in place of drowned land. Great swathes of what was once water have now become great swathes of wheat, barley and other foodstuff that makes a decent dinner. In fact, this area is now one of modern Egypt's greatest breadbaskets. The people need to eat. Despite these challenges, efforts to conserve and rehabilitate Lake Mareotis have gained momentum in recent years. Environmental organisations, government agencies and local communities have collaborated on initiatives to restore the lake's ecological balance. Projects aimed at reducing pollution, improving wastewater treatment and promoting sustainable fishing practices are part of broader efforts to preserve this vital natural resource. Lake Mareotis may finally have gotten itself a bunch of personal trainers and nutritionists working on a comeback tour. Despite any attempts at regeneration, it is unlikely that Lake Mareotis will ever regain its true historical size. Farmland is too important, and getting wet is not. From its vast area of more than 700 square kilometres in ancient times, Lake Mareotis is now barely 50 square kilometres in size, not even 1/10 of its former vastness. And then, of course, I came along. And continuing with this hard-on I have for reimagining the ancient world, I made this map, because that's what I do. I love to see how things looked before mankind got too involved. And this is it. This is the lost world of Alexandria and Lake Mareotis. This is how it looked when Alexander the Great arrived. And this is also how it looks on the map I made, which you can of course download for free from the Paradox mod site. As always, these maps are made for the game Cities Skylines 2, so that you can build your city here if you want to see how Alexandria might look today if the water had stayed where it was supposed to be. Now, before we get into the map information, I am very impolitely interrupted by my wife to remind you that if you don't like or subscribe, then she will hunt you down and kick your shins so hard you'll hear them ringing for years to come. I don't know why she says that, but she always follows through with her threats. I know, my shins sound like church bells at New Year. Anyhow, enough of the violence, here comes the map info. Climate, 11 to 37 degrees Celsius. Buildable area, 52%. Outside connections, road, rail, shipping, air, power, natural resources. Wheat, 98.5 square kilometres, forest 77.5 kilotons or 235 kilotons, oil 224 kilotons. Terrain, flat. And that's all. Fine people of planet Earth. I'm out again until the next time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to come back next time where I will be doing something or other about the lost city of probably Nineveh or something. I'm not sure, but definitely do come back anyway. Oh God, I'm so tired. I really do have to go. Peace, love, and Alexandria, goodbye.